There's one more thing I want to change from page to page. When a visitor views the list of shirts, or any of the shirt details pages we'll be building soon, I would like the shirts link in the navigation to be underlined to indicate that the visitor is currently within the shirts section. I'd like the same thing to happen on the contact page. To accomplish this, we'll have to make the HTML for the menu a little bit different from page to page, just like we did for the title tag. We'll use another variable here, but we'll also have to use another new programming concept, conditionals. A conditional in a programming language provides a way to have certain commands executed only if some condition is met. You'll often use conditionals with variables. You'll check the value of a variable, and if the value meets a certain condition, then you'll execute another piece of code. Let's first create a variable named today and assign it a value of Monday. You must end the PHP command with a semicolon, and it's usually a good idea to move down to the next line. The simplest form of a conditional in PHP is an if statement. Simply type the word if to begin an if statement. You then specify the condition you want to check in parentheses. Let's check if the variable we created named today has a value of Monday. Notice the double equal sign in conditional checks. The single equal sign here assigns the value. It actually changes the value in the today variable. The double equal sign here checks the value. It simply looks at the variable to see what the value is. After you check the value in an if statement, you can then write code that should execute only if this condition is met. You use curly braces to surround the conditional code, an open curly brace in front of the code, and a closed curly brace at the end. Any code in between the curly braces will get executed only if the today variable has a value of Monday. Let's echo out a nice message appropriate for a Monday. Each PHP command that gets executed inside the curly braces of an if statement needs a semicolon after it. But the if statement itself doesn't, and neither do the curly braces. Think of them as wrappers around PHP commands that need to be executed. They're not exactly PHP commands themselves. You'll often see an if statement written out as at least 3 lines, like this. Notice these extra spaces here in front of the echo. This is a common coding practice, indenting lines of code that are within or subordinate to other lines of code. If we ran this code right now, PHP would echo out our friendly Monday message. Let me change the today variable to something different. If we ran this code now, PHP would no longer display a message. The today variable equals Saturday, not Monday. Let's take a look at one more example before we get back to our header.php file. Let's start off another block of code with a variable named hour. We'll assign it a value equal to the current hour in 24-hour format, with possible values of 0 to 23. Next, we'll write a conditional that checks if it is before noon, that is, if the hour is less than 12. If so, we'll echo out, "Good morning." Next, let's check if it's noon or later, and if it's before 5 o'clock. We can do that with a slightly more complicated check. If the hour is greater than or equal to 12, and if hour is less than 17, then we can echo out, "Good afternoon." Let's add a couple more checks to cover the rest of the day. If the hour is greater than or equal to 17, that is if it's after 5 o'clock, and the hour is less than 20, that is, it's between 5 o'clock and 8 o'clock, let's echo out, "Good evening." If it's after 8 o'clock, we'll say, "Good night." Just like variables, there's a lot more I could say about conditionals. And I will say more about them as we go throughout the project. But that should cover what we need to make this last change to our menu. I have a quiz for you now to make sure you understand conditionals so far, and then we'll put them into practice in our header file.